And now that I've muted you, I'll say, I know that Janny and Roseanne have recently had to find a tennis ball. Maya and Caitlin, do you have access to a tennis ball or a ball of some sort? You do? Okay. Then we'll get into the glutes with a ball. Ouch! I mean, yay! Okay, so let's come to a comfortable seat. I'll bring my blocks with me. And grab my strap too. Now that I mentioned it, I was like, oh, I don't have it out. There we go. Okay. Comfortable seat, shift your sitting bones. And as you settle into a little bit of stillness with your hips, feel the connection of whatever you're sitting on. Feel the connection with the ground and your legs. And then lengthen your sides, lengthen the back of your neck, draw your shoulder blades onto your back. And as you let your eyes close and take a couple big breaths, utilize this time to do a scan, noticing from crown to tail, and from tail to crown, through shoulders and arms, through hips and legs. And just take in the details of what's there. Then connect palms together at heart center. And as you take another couple of breaths, lengthen with each inhale, root through your sitting bones with each exhale. And on your next exhale, bow toward your heart. Just take a moment to honor yourself for taking this time to check in. Then softly opening your eyes, release your hands down and gently roll back with shoulders. And gently move a little bit with your head and your neck, just giving yourself that chance to notice and be aware of whatever's showing up in upper back, shoulders, your neck. As you come back into center now, we'll take a gentle twist. So you can reach your right hand across to your leg, your knee, your thigh on the left side, wherever it needs to be. Left fingertips behind you and press down. Lift your ribs. And as you exhale, draw your low ribs in to help you twist just a little bit more. And take a couple big breaths here. Use your inhales to sit taller, your exhales to root and maybe twist just a tiny bit more. Inhale, come back into center. And exhale, take that twist over to the right side. And again, hand to shin, knee, thigh, wherever it needs to be. Right fingertips to the floor behind you and lengthen. As you exhale, low ribs draw in to help you twist. Inhale, find more length. Exhale, root and twist. 2 more full big breaths on this side. Inhale, come back into center, and then clear through your spine. Just 2 breaths in a cat and cow. Inhale, belly and heart forward. Exhale, press your spine back. 1 more big breath. Then inhale, sit tall, switch the cross of your legs, coming to the less comfortable cross for yourself, and move your sitting bones. And now from here, hands to your legs, give a good press down. And as you press down, lengthen, lift up your sides, draw shoulder blades onto your back, engage your low ribs. And now hands come behind, and you can make fists and bring them to your low back or clasp. And we'll take a little bit more opening through the heart. Press palms if you're clasping, lift your shoulders up and back, feel shoulder blades engage. And from here, neutral through the neck, and then you can add a little ear to shoulder if that feels good. Or you can add some nodding. And then gently release your hands, walking fingertips forward. Let's walk our hands out to the right side. You're welcome to have a block here. You might want it to be in the direction where you can move your left hand in front of your right, or with your hands on the floor, you're going to set your left fingertips in front of your right hand. Take a big breath and draw your left low ribs in, expanding into the left side of your back. Feel the connection of your sitting bones and take a big breath into your left low back. And then inhale through center and exhale over to the left side with your hands. And again, right fingertips work forward of your left hand. And then draw your right low ribs in, expanding into the right side of your back. Take a deep breath and fill up your right low back. Then inhale back into center. Fingertips come in front of you to press. Elbows lift to shoulder height, ballerina arms here. And as you push your fingertips together, take a big exhale and round into your upper back. Add little bits of movement here through your shoulders, maybe a little bit of turning with your head. Then inhale, sit tall, and one more time, hands come behind to clasp or fists at your low back, or option number 3 is fingertips to the floor to open up through your chest. You decide what feels the best in your body here to find a little more opening through the heart space, neutral through your neck. Take a deep breath. Then inhale, gently come back up to center, and we'll shift forward onto hands and knees. And from hands and knees, let's take that cross-legged version of child's pose to help stretch through the glutes and think of the SI joint area. So now, cross right leg behind your left. So your knees are right up into each other. And then use your hands to help you work your hips back towards your heels. And as you take this cross-legged version of child's pose, you're welcome to walk your hands further forward or even walk them out to the right side here. Big, deep breath. And then hands back into center and come back to hands and knees and switching sides, cross your left leg behind your right. Work your hips back, work your hands further forward. And then if you want, you can even take that side stretch, walking them out to the left side. Take a big deep breath here. And then hands back into center and reset yourself on your hands and knees. You're welcome to set a blanket underneath your knees here if you would like to. And we'll get a little bit more into the hamstrings and the hips. So stretch back with your right leg, toes tucked under. And as you stretch back, give a good push so that you're stretching through your calf. And then lift up just a little bit with your right hip. Move your right shoulder a little forward so you're growing longer from right hip to right armpit. And take a big breath as you keep pushing through your heel. On your exhale, release your right knee back down. Stretch back with your left leg. Give that push so you have a longer stretch through your calf muscle, and then lift up and open a little bit through the left hip. Left shoulder moves a little more forward. Take a full breath as you keep reaching through your heel. And then left knee back to center. Inhale, reach your right leg back, this time lifting your leg up. Turn open with your hip. Bend your knee and push your heel toward the left side and reach through your thigh. So this is that start of a thigh stretch, but also a hip opener. So take a big, deep breath. And now, big wide circles with your right knee. And as you make these circles, what I want you to think about is keeping your hips level. So we just opened the hip up, but now we're going to use that movement through the hip socket to find more hip opening as opposed to lifting the pelvis. And then switch directions with those circles again, keeping the pelvis level with the ground, as level as it can be, I should say. And now set your knee down, and then inhale, lengthen back with your left leg, and turn up and open with your hip, press through your heel, then bend your knee. Reach through your thigh. Support your low back here with your low belly engaging. Big breath. And now hips back to level and start those big circles with your knee. And when you keep your hips level, it makes the size of the circles smaller, even though you're trying to make the circle big. And then switch directions with your circles. Again, level hips. And then set your knee down. Big toes together, knees wide if that's comfortable, and settle hips back towards your heels. Take your child's pose. Settle your head down and take a couple big breaths, just checking in with the sensations that are present through the areas that we've stretched. And now inhale, rise to hands and knees. And make sure that your blocks are close to the front of your mat. We're going to come up to standing and do a couple of stretches. And we'll use our blocks, or you can even use a chair if you want something a little bit higher. But tuck your toes under, and your choice. You can step forward from here or lift your hips up and back to a down dog for a few moments of pedaling out before you step forward. And as you make your way to your forward fold at the front of your mat, take an inhale and lengthen partway, lifting your heart. Exhale and fold over your legs. Hands to hips, press hips back, start to lift up and open through your shoulders, and inhale, rise. So now stack your blocks. I'm going to turn sideways so it's easier for you to see. And as you stack your blocks, you might want to make sure that they're on your mat so they don't slip around. But we're going to do two stretches. One is going to be for the hamstrings, and the other will be for the piriformis, so that little hip flexor underneath the glutes. So first stretch, let's take the front part of our right foot up to the bottom block. So you have your toes lifted and your heel on the ground. And right here, you might be saying, "Oh, that's intense." I always do. With your back foot, you're turning your toes forward. This helps to level off your hips, to even them out. So you can now work your back foot as far forward as your body needs. So you might be able to bump it forward, or you might need to bump it back. So you discover what that is for you. Hands to your hips, center with your hips, And then give your left knee a bend as you push your hips back and start to fold. Bring your hands down to whatever you're using, whatever your props are. And send your sitting bones up. Extend your heart forward. Take a big, deep breath. And notice the state of your nervous system here. If you have your nervous system shutting you off with lots of intensity, then maybe you come up a little higher with your hands, or maybe you give a little bit more bend, especially to your left or your right knee rather. Take a big, full, deep breath. Sitting bones lift. Wrap your right hip back. Soften your eyes and soften your jaw. And then walk your hands up your legs to rise all the way up and set both feet on the ground, and then pause. Just notice for yourself. Bend a little bit between your knees. And then you're going to set your left foot up on your block. Toes lifted, heels on the ground. Right foot as close or as far away as you need, but try turning your toes forward to help your hips center. And then from that place, little bend to your right knee as you push your hips back, extend your heart forward, and bring your hands down to your props. Take a big breath and try tilting your sitting bones up. This is some intensity, I know. Take a full deep inhale and exhale and wrap your left hip back. Re-tilt your pelvis. The low back really wants to round here sometimes when we're tight. Take another full big breath. And then walk your hands up your legs and rise all the way back up and set both feet on the ground. Take a moment to simply notice. Big deep breath. You can turn your palms forward and close your eyes if that feels good to you. And now you're going to find your balance onto your left foot and cross your right ankle over the top of your knees so you have your figure four pose. And then settle hips back, bending your left knee as you bring your hands down to your prop. And from this place, with your right foot flexed, extend your heart forward and think of evenly pushing both sitting bones back and broad. And now lift your right knee and your right hip. Even let your torso lean a little bit over to the left to aid that lift. And try to reach your right sitting bone out to the right and back. As you take another couple of deep breaths, just notice for yourself what the intensity is for you. Give yourself the details without judgment. And then bring your torso back into center, level off your hips, and push both sitting bones evenly back. Again, think of back and broad, like they're trying to move apart from each other. And then your choice, you can set your foot down from here, or you can challenge your balance a tiny bit and walk your hands up your legs, and then set your foot down, your choice. And then shake it out. And then right foot balances. Left ankle crosses over the right knee. And then settle your hips back, start to work your hands down to your prop. And again, flex your left foot and send both sitting bones back evenly. Think of drawing them back and broad. And now lift your left knee up, lift your left hip up, even allow that little lean over to the opposite side. As you move your left sitting bone to the side and back, take a big breath. and then bring knee and hips back into center and send both sitting bones back and broad evenly. And then your choice, again, you can just set your foot down from here, or you can walk your hands up your legs to rise up first, and then set your foot down. And then give your legs a little shake. And now come to the front of your mat with your feet in your hip distance apart and parallel, and brush the dog hair off of you. Lift and spread your toes, and then root them down. Turn your palms open, expand through the chest, and as you close your eyes, just notice what's going on in your body for you today. Inhale, stretch up overhead. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, lengthen part way. Exhale, fold. Couple big breaths right here. Pulsing a couple times if that's in your practice. Inhaling to lengthen a little ways and exhale to fold. And now blocks in front of you so that you can set your hands up on the highest point. And if you're using just one, that's okay too. But now bend your right knee and send your left thigh back. Extend your heart forward. Send your sitting bone up on the left side. Take a big deep breath. Your right foot is completely planted. And then bend your left knee, send your right thigh back, right sitting bone lifts. Keeping a little micro bend in your knee joint. This is one of those places, if you're a hyperextender, that it's easy to lock the joint. And now back into center. On your exhale, fold over your legs. Plant hands and step back. Take downward facing dog pose for just a moment to find a little length through the spine, to find a little length through the backs of the legs. And then settle knees down, hips to heels. Take a child's pose, and you can bring your props with you here if you would like, and you can set hands on the edge of your props so your fingers are reaching over the edge. Rotate so that you're trying to turn your elbow pits up, and then settle your head down as low as your body is ready for. Take a couple big breaths. You might add a little movement here through your hips. And then inhale, gently bring yourself upright to your seat. And we will give the calves and hamstrings a little bit of love. It's been a little while since we've done this one. A little Thai massage technique. So you're gonna be on your knees for this. Grab your blanket and give your blanket a roll. And if you find that being on your knees for this long is just a little bit challenging, I don't think any of you have knee issues. You can always just sit all the way down with your legs extended and put the blanket underneath your hamstrings for a few pushes and then underneath your calves for a few pushes. But from your knees, if this is comfortable for you, and comfort is relative, you're going to take the rolled up blanket behind your knee pits. And I find it's easiest to get it there if I set my head down and then reach for the edges of the blanket and pull them toward the front of my legs. And then sit up. And as you sit up, this will be a lot of sensation, in particular with the calves. However, even though it feels like the calves are the only thing being targeted, it's also getting into the hamstrings. It's kind of nice that it's not the hamstrings screaming at you necessarily sometimes. So now, if it's in your practice, you're going to move your legs a little, or your hips a little side to side, so that then you can target the edges of your calves and hamstrings as well as the middles. Couple more big breaths, and just notice for yourself if you're able to calm your nervous system down through this. And if you're just seizing tight, then you might even lean a little forward for it. That takes a little pressure off. And then go ahead and lean a little forward, move the blanket down about halfway down your calves and sit back again. So the sensations should be a little bit different, but you're still getting to target calves and hamstrings. So that little bit of side to side sway. This one is where I tend to feel my hamstrings a little bit more. I don't know about you guys. And then shift a little forward and move your blanket back. And this time it's down at the bottom of your calves. And this is also getting closer to the hamstring connections. And then again, a little rock side to side. Good, okay. Now go ahead and lean forward again, take the roll out, come all the way down to your sitting bones and extend your legs. And from that place, move your sitting bones and flex your feet and find your strap and set your strap over the balls of your feet so that that helps you to stay flexed. And from here, you're holding onto your strap, sitting tall, and we're going to do little pulses here. Press your heels down so your knees lift a little bit. Keep long through your spine, and as you exhale, you're going to fold to the place where you start to feel sensation, and then you're going to pulse in that place a little bit in and out. So inhale, lengthen, and exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, fold. You get to work in that space that is right for your body. Keeping a little push down through the heels helps the knees to feel stable. And you can even train that push of your heels to help you engage the low glutes a little. That helps to keep the tops of the hamstrings at the connections stable. And now wherever that point is in your stretch, where you feel some stretch but not too intense, is where you're going to stay for a couple of breaths. And from that place, if it feels better to shift to maybe elbows at your thighs, or maybe you're reaching out for your toes, find that place that isn't the deepest stretch possible, but is just enough of a stretch for you to breathe and for your nervous system to release a little bit. And then inhale, gently rise back up. And you can set your strap aside for now. And you're going to find your ball. Only has to be one of them. You don't have to have the set like this for this. But just take the one ball, and we're going to come all the way down onto our backs. And we're going to focus a little bit more on our glutes. So as you come down onto your back, bend your knees, footprints to the floor. And you're going to set the ball underneath the left side. We'll do the left side first. And as you set it underneath the left side, you're going to lengthen your left leg all the way out so you have maybe a little bit more press from your hips into the ball. And now a little rock with your hips side to side. So you're going from the inside to the outside of your glutes. The awesome thing about this is that you can use that right foot to lessen the amount of pressure. You can press a little bit more with the foot to help you not set your whole weight down. So you can really sense what you need here. And then you're going to stop in the middle of the glute. You might have to adjust where you are with your shoulders. And we're going to do some tensing and releasing. So now squeeze the glute. See if you can just squeeze the one side. Sometimes that's hard. And then soften and relax it. Squeeze the glute. And then soften, relax it. Squeeze. And then soften. And now you're going to cross your left ankle over your right knee. So you have a figure 4, but you're a little tilted sideways. And then you're going to rock a little side to side again. So this targets the glute medius a little bit more. So it might feel like a little bit different sensation. Say, no kidding, Dawn. I like to be Captain Obvious. Good. So keep your foot crossed over and just shift the ball up a tiny bit. So you're on a different part of your glute. Step a little bit higher, and same thing, a little rock side to side. And now shift it below the point, if you can find that spot that's just below where you started, to do a little side to side. This is where it gets a little tricky and sometimes it squirts right out. That sounds terrible. Sometimes the ball rolls out. Sometimes words, gotta think before you say anything, right? Okay, so now we're gonna switch to the other side. You can put your foot down and lift your hips, take the ball out. Before you switch to the other side, you can lengthen your legs all the way out and just feel. Notice how your hips feel, your glutes, whatever's going on in your body. And then bend your knees again and lift your hips, set it underneath your right side. And lengthen your right leg out long, and then side to side here. Why? Because we can. I'm kidding. And notice what is what for you. Which side maybe has more sensation, which side has less. Just notice. This side, for whatever reason, is always tighter on me. Okay, so now we're going to do the squeeze and release. So squeeze the glute and then soften. Squeeze and then soften. Squeeze and soften. One more. Squeeze and soften. Good. Okay. So now cross the ankle, right ankle over left knee, and side to side again, getting a little bit more into that glute medius. And then move the ball up just a little bit so you're higher up on the glute and rock. And then just below where you started from, try to find that sweet spot where you can rock a little bit. find that to be just about hamstring connections. And then go ahead and set your foot down, take the ball out. Drop your knees in together to touch, and for a moment, just feel. Let your arms relax, your head and neck relaxes. Take a deep breath. And then favorite of all favorite, hip, thigh, low back, glute, nervous system release. Windshield wipers, walk your feet wide and drop your knees slowly side to side, allowing for that additional length. Noticing from thigh all the way up into your ribs. And now back into center, you're going to find your strap and draw your right knee in toward your chest, lasso the ball of your foot, and extend your legs straight up. And from this place, you can keep your left knee bent here if you would like, or you can extend it all the way out against the ground. And now, hold on to the strap with your left hand and take your right thumb into your hip crease and give your hip a push. Give your thigh bone a push so your leg rotates a tiny bit. Toes will turn to the right a little. And then flex your left foot, and from heel to hip socket, draw in, evening out your hips a little bit more. Take a big breath into your low back. Reach through your heel. And now just a tiny bit across your body with your right leg to the left so that your foot doesn't even cross the edge of your mat. Right hip gets to stay planted. And if you keep that push onto your hip so that you're lengthening your right side and you have that rotation of your leg, then sometimes there's a little bit more sensation that happens right around the pocket muscle and the IT band. Take a big breath. Reach through the heel and back down through the hip. Inhale back up to center, and you can bend your knee, take the strap off of your foot, and just give your knee a squeeze into your side or into the middle more, wherever it feels the best in your body. And then set your right foot down and draw your left knee in, lasso the ball of your left foot and start to lengthen your leg. And again, right leg can either stay bent or you can extend it, either one. Flex both feet. Take your left thumb into your hip crease, holding onto the strap with your right. And then press your thigh so that you have that rotation in your hip socket. Hip bones are evening out. And then from your right heel into your hip socket, you're drawing in to help that leveling off happen even more. Take a big breath. Think of length through the back of the leg, even if you have a considerable bend to your knee. Think of length and think of sending your breath into your hamstrings. They're some of the smaller muscles as opposed to their counter muscles on the front of your leg. So they need more oxygen. Take a big, deep inhale and exhale. And then just slightly take your leg across your body to the right side. Continue to press onto the thigh bones. You're making a little bit more space on your left side. You're reaching through your heel and down through your hip. Full big breath. If you do have any knee stuff going on, oftentimes working through some of the IT band and TFL is helpful in releasing some of the knee issues, or even more so creating space in the hip for the knee issues to stop. Inhale back into center. Bend your knee, draw it into your chest. You can set your strap aside now. We're done with it. And hug in with your knee. Give your gut a little squish. And now both feet to the ground and drop your knees in together to touch. And take your hands to your thighs and give a good push so that your low back lifts up a little bit. And take a couple moments to move through your pelvis like you're pivoting on your sacrum, or pivoting, really, it's almost more like your sitting bones are pivoting. And then stay pressing with that lift through your low back and take a big breath to fill up your low back. Inhale to expand your low back muscles and exhale to release them. And now find a prop. It can be blocks, it can be your bolster, but pull your knees up toward your chest, and I'm going to give you a choice. We're going to take a spinal twist. You can just take both knees toward your chest and drop them over to the right, or cross your left thigh over your right leg. You might cross at the calves here, and then take your legs over to the right to rest on a prop so that both shoulders are still down. And then from that place, if your shoulders are down, you can open your left arm to the left, maybe turn your gaze to the left. But take a moment to find a full breath. Two more really deep breaths on this side. And now inhale, bring your legs back up to center. Uncross your legs. Switch your prop over to the other side. And then either draw your knees up into your chest and take your legs over to the left, or if you crossed your legs last time, then cross right leg over the top. And again, you might take toes around your calf if that feels good. If it doesn't, that's okay. There's no pressure to do that full wrap. And then as your shoulders stay down, then you can feel free to open your right arm up, maybe take your gaze to the right. Take a few moments to find place where this twist is the best for you today. Remembering that the purpose isn't to take the deepest twist you've ever taken. If you have your legs crossed, one of the awesome things about that version is that it does some compression of lymph. So that's a really lovely thing to do for yourself. If your knees aren't crossed and you have that twist, then any level of twist is beneficial. So it's that opportunity to find that midpoint between a super deep twist and being there gently. Full big deep breath. Even think about letting your breath expand and contract. Letting your breath be what maybe helps you deepen or come out of the twist a little bit more. And we're taking 2 more deep breaths in this twist. And now gently bring your legs back up to center. Set footprints on the ground. And then you're going to find whatever prop you need for underneath your legs. So that can be your pillow or bolster. That can be your blanket. But then we're going to set something underneath our neck. So you have your choice. If you do happen to have 2 balls, you can grab those 2 balls in a sock, or if you have one of these mesh sacks, then you can always set the balls in the sock underneath your neck or your rolled up blanket underneath your neck. Your choice. And as you come to that place of resting your head down, resting your legs down, just take a moment here to settle, close your eyes, tune into any parts of your body that are holding on to tension. And then gently give your head a little turn. You're shaking your head no toward the ceiling. And if you have tennis balls underneath your occipital bones, then it might be a smaller movement. If you have a blanket, it might be a bigger movement. Whatever that is, just notice for yourself and find the movement that's right for your body. And then little nods toward the ceiling. Little nods over to the right side. Little nods over to the left side. And as you come back into center now, with your eyes closed, take a moment to notice where any tension is and what position for Shavasana would support you the best in releasing that tension. And then start to shift into a really supportive Shavasana. begin to take a deeper breath. And gently start to add little movements into your body. And when you're ready to bend your knees and roll over to your side. And slowly push yourself back up to your seat. And take hands together at heart center. With your eyes closed, take a moment to do a scan of your body once again and notice. Have a very peaceful and beautiful rest of your day. Namaste. Thanks, you guys.